Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Nicole and today we are looking specifically at things that I have overlooked, things that I think you really should know about and consider if you are building a new home or even renovating your home, specific to the kitchen and the bathroom. So as you know, we have just moved in finally after a long saga of getting our house built. And now that we're in, having done all this research after starting the channel and looking into so many Instagram accounts, YouTube accounts, all of that, and just going through so many options, I'm realizing that there are already things that I would have changed, that I would have liked, that I, woulda, coulda, shoulda, all of that. So I really want to make sure that you're aware of all of those options in case anything kind of catches your eye, so you're not like me, move in, and then you're like, kind of wish I thought of this sooner. If that's something that you're interested in, go ahead, give this video a like, don't forget to subscribe. Let's go. So my setup is a little bit different again, and you're likely to get some weird lighting, some weird noises. So we are in Texas right now. My husband had a conference, and basically this is a very interesting hotel that we're staying in. We are right on Riverwalk, so you're probably going to hear some of the loudspeakers from those boat tours, and we are also right by the elevator. We are always by the elevator. It's really weird how that just seems to be our luck. But you might hear some dinging from this side, you might hear some speakers and some little fun facts and trivia about Riverwalk over here, so please bear with me. This will only be for this video. So I am going to start off in the kitchen. One of the things that I really wish I had considered is the waterfall edges on the countertop. So we're very used to kind of a couple different ways for the counter to be done. So you have a little bit of an overhang, which I do prefer over that kind of tight edge. I'll be sure to show examples of both, but having that little bit of an overhang makes it a little bit easier when you are wiping everything down. If something spills, you have that little bit of a ledge to collect things so they're not just running down your cabinets. Now, if you do have one that cuts off right at the cabinet line, it does look very clean, very modern, but I don't know how you clean that up exactly, and I just imagine everything running down the cabinet. So totally up to you, but something that I really would have liked is, again, these waterfall edges. So continuing off the sides of the counters, you would have whatever the marble, quartz, granite, whatever your material is, not only on the top, but also wrap down the sides. Now this makes for a just beautiful, clean look. It just continues everything so that it's not such a stark contrast, and it will be more expensive. So something that I do want to note, everything I talk about is always, it's difficult to get everything. We're all on a budget, and your budget has to come first. So like I've mentioned in previous videos, maybe price out everything that you want so that you kind of know what that dream would look like financially, but you have to stick to that budget. So then from there, you can kind of walk back those ones that maybe aren't as important, or maybe ones that you can do later on, because we do not want to go into debt over these things. That is definitely not worth it. So just please be sure that everything I'm saying here will cost a little bit more money or a lot more money depending on what it is. So just keep in mind, the budget has to dictate everything here. So we talked a little bit about continuing that countertop down the sides of your island for that kind of waterfall effect. Another place you can do a continuation of your countertop is all the way up your wall for that backsplash. Now, if you're like me, grout is the worst. It just is. It's horrible to clean. It gets dirty, it gets stained. It's not fun. I don't know why there's grout in so many places, especially if you have those really little tiles. Anywhere that you cannot have grout is definitely a plus in my book. So something that we kind of did consider and we backed away from, continuing that countertop slab up the wall for your backsplash. Get a very clean, very modern look. It is a little bit pricier, but if you are going for a little bit more of a seamless, getting a little bit modern, a little bit contemporary look, this is definitely one that you want to consider for your kitchen. Something else that I didn't even think of is not doing corner cabinets. Now we have one here in our home, and there's nothing kind of wrong with it. They're a little awkward. It's hard to place everything. It's so much room in the back, but you can't really utilize all of that because of how narrow the front is. And they're kind of an awkward solution to a problem that I don't really see as that big of a problem. So if you just did something straight on and you just went into the corner, kind of two ways to go about this. Either the cabinet just kind of runs into the corner and the next cabinet comes out, which is totally fine, or we are seeing a lot of that, open shelving concept, or maybe it's right by a window. So you can just run that all the way to the corner, to the wall, or stop a little bit ahead of it, and again, do a little bit of an open shelving or have something else in that area. I've already found that this corner cabinet is, again, it's not something I thought to ask for them to do differently, but moving forward, I absolutely would if it were to be done again. So if you are building, renovating, anything like that, this corner cabinet it's a little chunky, it's a little clunky, and it's not as useful as it could be in some of these other varieties. So something to keep in mind, something to ask about. It probably, again, would cost extra because they would have to do that as a non-standard option, but I think it would totally be worth it just for functionality, first of all, but also, in my opinion, it just doesn't look that great. It's a little bit old-fashioned, and again, it just doesn't serve the purpose that I think it's supposed to. These next two both have to do with windows, so I'll lump them together and then we'll talk about them separately. So one is if you have taller ceilings, just going for larger windows. There's something in my kitchen that I really wish I had done there with the taller ceilings. It looks a little bit funny to me now. Again, not something I had thought of. And then the second one is just putting in additional windows where maybe they aren't already on the plans. So starting out with a taller window, I'll throw up a picture here. Again, we have 10-foot ceilings on our main level, and this window is definitely meant for, your standard 9-foot ceiling. So because of that extra foot of wall, it just looks a little bit strange to me. It looks like it just doesn't fit the space. What I really want to do here is a little bit of open shelving up the sides, maybe some sconces or a big picture light over the top of the window, but I'm having a really hard time visualizing because there's just so much wall up at the top. So what I would have done, in the building process is definitely ask for that window to be elongated to see if we could just have some more height there. I think, first of all, I'm a sucker for natural light. So any type of window, larger window, more windows, that's totally right up my alley. But I think that it just would have fit the space a little bit better. And again, then you have that pro of more natural light and it just wouldn't look so out of place. The second one I mentioned there was just more windows. So typically in all of the kitchens that I have personally, lived in throughout my life, there hasn't been a lot of just windows in the kitchen, and typically that's because there are cabinets everywhere, there's appliances there, it just isn't a lot of space for it. But I've seen some incredibly gorgeous pictures of people, taking out some of those cabinets. Make sure you have the storage space elsewhere, make sure it makes sense, of course, but having some extra windows inside the kitchen to bring in that light is just so beautiful to me. And with the natural light, it just brings that brightness and that airiness that I think a lot of people would really enjoy. And as long as you have enough room for everything else that you want to do in your kitchen, it just makes it look a little bit different than what we've traditionally had over the past, however many decades of the kitchen being a little bit more open concept, just really bringing in more of that natural light. I just talked about taking out some of the cabinets to maybe put in some of those windows. Something else you can do though is quite the opposite. Adding those cabinets we talked about to the ceiling before, but some of those all the way down to the countertop are really not only, I think, very beautiful, but also very functional. So this provides a space for you to hide some of those smaller appliances. Maybe you don't want to clutter up the countertop with, your toaster, with your coffee maker, with whatever it is that you use on a daily basis. You want access, but maybe you don't want it out in the open all day, every day. So especially if you are removing some cabinets somewhere else in the kitchen to maybe make room for your open shelving, for your windows, whatever it is, if you bring down the cabinets to the countertops in other areas, it provides you more storage that maybe you were sacrificing elsewhere. It just gets transitioned to a different part of the kitchen. And then again, it also has a little bit of a hiding spot, especially if you put an outlet back there, for all of those things that you do need that maybe you just don't want to see all day. Sticking with cabinets, now this is not a personal favorite of mine. I know a lot of people really like these though. So that is looking at the cabinet style appliances. Now, if you are somebody who likes to just look at a very seamless kitchen, a very seamless look, you don't want to have that big stainless steel or matte black or matte white or whatever, fun color you might be thinking of. Maybe you want everything to look much more uniform, just much more clean lined. You can look into these cabinet front appliances so that you're not seeing that break every time there's an appliance in your kitchen. Now, I personally, again, don't like the look of just a wall of cabinets. I think that I like to have a little bit of a break in the kitchen, but it definitely has a very clean look. It's something that, again, will cost a little bit extra, but if you don't want to have that kind of break in your design style in your kitchen, these cabinet front appliances are definitely a way to go. This next one, sticking with cabinets, and this can be used in the kitchen, in the bathroom, in any area where you have cabinets, something that is so small, but I have so gotten used to, and now it makes it hard not to have soft close cabinets. So it's really nice to be able to not worry about that cabinet slamming. Now I don't think I've ever had soft close before, and it's something that we had priced out and we weren't quite sure because it just seemed a little bit pricey. If it is in your budget, it's something I would absolutely do again. So in this hotel room, I've slammed so many cabinets because now I'm used to just being able to kind of let it go, and these cabinets are loud, and my apologies to the hotel, but it's something that I've gotten used to really quickly, and it's already something that I just don't want to have to think about. So something a little bit small that has a pretty big impact, that again, always budget comes first for everything, and this might be something that you would want to do yourself later on. Maybe it's not in the budget right up front. I don't think it's too incredibly terrible to do on your own later. I would need to look into it again. I know I did in the past. I think it's more that it's just a little bit time consuming, but absolutely look into those soft close cabinets. So I've already ranted earlier in this video about the nightmare that is grout. So something else you can think of in the bathrooms for your showers specifically, having those walls be one continuous slab so that you only have the seams on the sides where the angles are meeting together. Anywhere that I don't have to scrub grout is going to make me a little bit of a happier person. So this is something that, again, I would have liked to have thought of beforehand, but if you can look into a continuous slab, so it's just, one per wall, maybe 2 or 3, depending on how large your shower space is, cutting down on those grout seams, making it one slab that is the only one you have to worry about just for cleaning and, sanity purposes. Definitely something I wish I would have looked into. And, if renovations are in our future, something I would think about very, very hard into putting into our bathrooms. Another thing that I have spoken about in a previous video was the whole door situation in some of the bathrooms. Now, this is not just specific to bathrooms. Anywhere where you have a little bit of door chaos, this can work. The bathrooms came to mind just because of how our buddy bath works. It just seems like there's going to be doors slamming into each other left and right. So having something like a pocket door would just make life a lot easier. So this door slides all the way into and out of the wall. So when it is completely open, you don't have to worry about where a door is actually going to physically be. It's not going to be in your way anywhere. And then you just slide the door back out in order to close it. Now, what I like about a pocket door over, say, a barn door is it actually closes, so it provides privacy. You don't have those weird seams everywhere. I've got to say, I'm not a big fan of the barn door. I was very interested in them for a while. I think that they are kind of cool, kind of different, and the idea of sliding that door and having it flush against the wall is something that is very intriguing, but they're not functional. They're not. They don't close all the way. There are seams that you can get into from the sides and from the floor. It makes that horrible rattling noise as you slide it across the rungs. Not a big fan. If that is your thing, you enjoy your barn door. I'm not saying anything about you personally not enjoying that, but it is not for me. I think a pocket door is a much better option. One other thing that I didn't think to ask at the time, I knew it was something that I wasn't happy with, and for some reason, it just never crossed my mind to ask if they could do this. So did the home tour last week, and in our bathroom, we have that really large tub, have a couple of steps up, and then you go down into the sunken tub. I'm not quite sure what it's called. I personally love a freestanding tub. I think it's just a lot more clean looking. It's a lot more, just modern, and these sunken tubs, or again, whatever the technical term is, they just seem very old-fashioned. They seem a little bit more just old school and not my style. Not to mention all of these columns and all this detailing. None of that's really my style. But again, I didn't even think to ask if something could be different there. I knew that when we chose that upgraded, primary bedroom suite style, that's what we were getting. So I just left it at that. Now, if it were up to me, I would rip all of that out, make sure it is just flat. I would take out those columns and all of those little detailing work and put in a freestanding tub. I'd also love to put a sauna in, but that's a story for another day. If you do have a tub like that and you want something a little bit just more clean and classic and modern, seems a little interesting that I think of it as a classic and modern, but I do think that they are making these really beautiful ones right now that just fit much better into the style that I gravitate towards. So if I could do it again, I would definitely want a freestanding tub, and if it's something you're interested in, it's worth the ask. They might tell you no, they might tell you it will cost extra. So again, always going back to budget, but then at least you know that maybe it is a no or something that you'd have to do later on your own, instead of me now just wondering if I could have had that if I just thought to ask. So those are all of the options for now. In the kitchen and bathroom specific one, I do have a couple more. I'm looking at my content calendar. When I started thinking about, oh, what did I miss? What did I not think of? What would I have liked to do instead? I thought that was going to be one video, maybe two. I've already done several, and I have a couple more that it just seems I add to them on a weekly basis. So there are definitely more options to come. So be sure that you stick around and subscribe. Hit that notification bell if you want to be alerted every time I do post. Other than that, I can't wait to see you in the next video. Until next time, bye.